Good morning students. Welcome back to the Geometry Online session. As you all know, we have started with the revision of the first lesson, Basic Concepts in Geometry. In the previous session, we have learned some basic concepts like point, line and plane. Then we learned coordinates of a points and how to find the distance between any two points. Then we have learned the betweenness. We have also solved some problems from practice set 1.1 and practice set 1.2. And today in this session we are going to continue this revision with conditional statements and proof. So today we are going to see these two topics. So let's start with the session. So what is the meaning of conditional statements and its converse? So we have seen the definition for the conditional statement. What was it? Yes, the statements which can be written in the if-then form are called conditional statements. Now this statement can be divided into two parts. Which are the two parts? Yes, antecedent and consequent. Now what is the meaning of antecedent? The part of a statement following if is called the antecedent. And what is the consequent? The part of the statement following then is called the consequent. So these are the two parts of the statement. Now how to write the converse of any conditional statement? So if the antecedent and consequent are interchanged, the resulting statement is called the converse of the given statement. That means if you can interchange the antecedent and consequent part, then whatever statement we get, that statement is called as converse of the given statement. If a conditional statement is true, its converse is not necessarily true. That means if any conditional statement is given to you and if that statement is true, then it is not necessary that its converse will be also true. Sometimes it can be false also. Now let's understand this with an example. Consider the statement, the diagonals of a rhombus are perpendicular bisector of each other. Now here the statement is given to you and you have to write it in the conditional form. So what is the conditional form? You have to use if and then. So how will you write? See the first part, the diagonals of rhombus are perpendicular bisector of each other. So what is given to you? Rhombus is given to you. So you will write it as if the given quadrilateral is a rhombus, then its diagonals are perpendicular bisector of each other. That means if given quadrilateral is a rhombus, we know that its diagonals are perpendicular bisector of each other. Now you have to write the inverse of this statement. So what we have to do? We have to see the part of the statement which is following if and the part of the statement which is following then. So these are the two parts and we have to interchange these two parts. So how we can write here? So then part we have to write as a first part. So what you will write? If the diagonals of a quadrilateral are perpendicular bisector of each other, then it is a rhombus. I hope you all have understood this, how to write the conditional form of statement and its converse. So you have to remember all these points. After that, we have learned about the Euclid. Now who was the Euclid? Euclid was a Greek mathematician. He gathered a knowledge of geometry and streamlined it. He also took for granted some self-evident geometrical statements which were accepted by all, and we call them as postulates. He also showed that on the basis of these postulates we can prove some more properties logically. Properties which we prove logically are called as theorems. And the part antecedent is called as given part, and the consequent is called as the part to be proved. So whatever part of the statement following if is called as given part, and the part of the statement following then is called as part to be proved. So while writing the proof for theorem, we have to consider all these statements. Then we have learned some of the Euclid's postulate. First one, there are infinite lines passing through a point. Second one, there is one and only one line passing through 2 points. Third one, a circle of given radius can be drawn taking any point as its center. Fourth one, all right angles are congruent with each other. Fifth one, if two interior angles formed on one side of a transversal of two lines add up to less than 2 right angles, then the lines produced in that direction intersect each other. So all these postulates you have to remember, and the detailed explanation for this was given in part 4 of first lesson, basic concepts in geometry. So if you are having any doubt regarding any of the statement, you can watch that video and clear your doubts. After that, we are going to solve some problems from practice set 1.3. First, it is given that write the following statement in if then form. So you have to convert the given statement in conditional form. So what is the first statement? The opposite angles of a parallelogram are congruent. So how to write it? If quadrilateral is a parallelogram, then its opposite angles are congruent. Then what is the next statement? The diagonals of a rectangle are congruent. So how you can write it in the conditional form? If a quadrilateral is a rectangle, then its diagonals are congruent. Are you getting it? Now let's try to solve for a few more problems from this practice set. See the second problem. Write the converse of the following statement. So we have learned about the conditional statement. Now we will learn how to write it in the converse form. First statement, the alternate angles formed by two parallel lines and their transversal are congruent. So what you will write here? Your antecedent should be consequent and consequent should be antecedent. So your converse will become, if the alternate angles formed by two parallel lines and their transversal are congruent, then the two lines are parallel. Is that clear to all of you? Now next one. If a pair of interior angles made by a transversal of two lines are supplementary, then the lines are parallel. Now its converse will be, if a pair of the interior angles made by a transversal of two lines are supplementary, then the lines are parallel. So with this, we have completed the first lesson. So you have to study accordingly. This lesson is very important because all the basic concept which you should know to learn or to understand the geometry are given in this lesson. So you have to do this lesson properly. After this, now we are going to start with the revision of second lesson, that is parallel lines. Now in this lesson, we have learned about the properties of angles formed by parallel lines and its transversal. We have learned about the test of parallelness of two lines and use of properties of parallel lines. Now let's start with the parallel lines. Let's first understand what is the definition of parallel lines. The lines which are coplanar and do not intersect each other are called parallel lines. So here in one plane, line L and line M is given, and both these lines are not intersecting each other. Therefore, line L is parallel to line M. Now in the previous standards we have learned about the different angles formed by two lines and their transversal. So here we have considered line L and line M, and line N is the transversal. So how many angles we got here? Yes, 8 angles. So all these 8 angles we have to differentiate in different groups. So which are the groups we are getting here? Pair of corresponding angles. Now let's see which are the pairs of corresponding angles. Now the first pair is angle D and angle H. So corresponding angles are nothing but these type of angles. So first pair is angle D and angle H. Then angle A and angle E. Then the third pair is angle C and angle G. Then what will be the fourth pair? Yes, angle B and angle F. So all these are pairs of corresponding angles, and we know that corresponding angles are congruent. Now let's see the pairs of alternate interior angles. Now what is the meaning of alternate? Alternate means the angles which are present on either side of the transversal or on the opposite side of the transversal. And what is the meaning of interior angles? The angles which are present in the interior part of the two lines. So here how many interior angles we got? 4. Angle C, angle B, angle H and angle E. So these are the 4 interior angles formed here. So out of these, how many alternate interior angles will be there? 2 pairs, angle C and angle E. These are alternate interior angles. Similarly, angle B and angle H. So let's write down angle C and angle E, first pair, and second pair will be angle B and angle H. Are you getting this? Yes. Now let's try to understand what are pairs of alternate exterior angles. Now we have seen about the interior angles. Now what will be the exterior angles? The angles which are present on the exterior part of the two lines. So these are the exterior angles, angle D, angle A, angle F and angle G. Now we have to see the alternate exterior angles. Alternate means what? We have to see the angles which are present on the opposite side of the transversal. So here angle A and angle G, this is the one pair, and angle D and angle F will be the second pair. So let's write down angle D and angle F and angle A and angle G. So these are the 2 pairs of alternate exterior angles. Now we will learn about the pairs of interior angles on the same side of a transversal. Now this is the transversal and these are the interior angles. So pairs of interior angles on the same side of the transversal. So angle B and angle E, they are on the same side. Similarly, angle C and angle H are on the same side. And we know that such type of interior angles are supplementary. So let's write down angle B and angle E will be the first pair, and angle C and angle H will be the second pair. Now let's try to understand what are the pairs of vertically opposite angles. Now when two lines intersect each other, which type of angles formed? Yes, vertically opposite angles. Now how many vertically opposite angles are formed here? Angle C and angle A, this is the first pair. Angle D and angle B, it is the second pair. Similarly, angle H and angle F will be the third pair, and angle G and angle E is the fourth pair. So how many pairs are formed here? 4 pairs of vertically opposite angles. So let's start writing. Angle A and angle C. Second pair will be angle B and angle D. Third pair, angle E and angle G. And the last pair is angle H and angle F. So I hope you all have understood all these types of angles. The further part we are going to see in the next session. So today we are going to end this session here. I hope you all have enjoyed this session. Thanks for watching this video.